Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Juicebox Racing League Season 2, race number 5 here tonight at IRP as we get prepared to take the ARCA cars out on this very unique short track here tonight. Everybody a part of Juicebox Racing League here tonight, all the 20-some drivers that are taking the field here today, should be extremely prepared for something that we really have not seen yet in this league. A very unique short track where the preferred line is in fact not the bottom line as close as you can get to the bottom and the yellow line there. It is in fact actually the top side there, like the wall. So this should be extremely interesting here tonight. As you see, some of the drivers are starting to grid up here. We'll take a look at the full field of qualifiers here as you go ahead and take a look. Just normal temperatures and such, nothing too extreme here for the Crossroads 150 at IRP, but obviously as we get longer and longer into this race, you'll get to really see exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to a very unique short track that we have here tonight, with the top side being dominant, and it's going to be a lot of dive bombs in order to try to pass people, staying alongside of them as best you can. And so tonight should be extremely interesting as everybody gets their car started here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the starting lineup. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the starting lineup for tonight's race for the Crossroads 150 at IRP. John Weitendorf, last week's winner, gets himself a pole here tonight with a 22.95, a really great time to get himself in the front row. Alongside him is Hank Steinmiller in that 63, starting P2. P3 is Cooper Johnson in that 14 car alongside Sean Hayes in that 49 car, starting P4. P5 is Drew Cox in that 98, who seemed to have a pretty good run going last week at Las Vegas, but had some troubles getting a lap down. And Andrew Rucker, a first-timer here in the Juicebox Racing League, starts P6, so a great start for him. Tyler Barnett in that 26 is back in that 7th spot, and Jake Hounshell in that 02 is starting P8. Logan Monteith in P9 alongside Seth Harlson to round out the top 10. James Goshen in 11th and at 85 alongside Jason Hounshell in P12. Along down the rest of the board here, Dave Carpenter in the 13th spot alongside Randy Koking in P14, Jose Medina in P15 alongside Dade Grajewski in P16. Brett Stevens in that 86 and starting P17, he chose not to take a time. He's the first out of all those other drivers behind him that chose not to take a time. P18 on back. Colton in that 1 car. Laeth Gore, I'm not even going to try and say it, I apologize. Laeth in that 777s there in P19. Josh Silva in the 3 car starting P20. Nick Seraph in that 523 starting P21. Tyler DeTalent in the number 29 car starting P22. And Andre Guerrera in the 18 starting P23. All those guys chose not to take a time here for qualifying. So as the cars start to get fired up and such, we'll go ahead and go green here in a very short amount of time. We'll be right back. So as the engines get fired and the cars are now starting to roll here at IRP, as you see there, that number 33 car of John Weitendorf, our pole sitter for tonight's race, last week's winner here at Las Vegas. And now I talked about a little bit early in the broadcast that this is going to be extremely interesting. You can kind of notice there some of the guys in that outside line who will be starting on the outside row. You can kind of see that outside line is a little bit more banked than the inside line. And that is going to be the key tonight, is guys getting the run off the top versus the guys who can try and make dive bomb passes on the bottom. And what this usually does is, well, unfortunately for the drivers, it usually breeds catastrophe and some sort of wrecks that we are going to see tonight. And truthfully, I don't believe that we'll go the race green flag to checkered flag. But it'll be interesting to watch for sure. Pace car lights are out this time by. We will go ahead and take the green flag for the first time here tonight at IRP. John Weitendorf kicking us off in the front row alongside Hank Steinmiller. What'll be interesting here on the start, because the initial start of the race, they go on green. So once the green flag comes out, then everybody goes. Just try to avoid multiple wrecks on restart. So it'll be interesting to see if that outside line that Hank Steinmiller has can be an advantage on just this restart to John Weitendorf on the inside. Pace car is off. Coming off of 4 this time by. We'll be going green here at IRP. Already here, contact with the wall, and a caution is already out. Just a lap into this thing. Let's see if we can go back and find the culprit of this wreck. May have been here towards the back of the field. Let's go back and take a look at what happened. Go ahead and follow along here with Dave Grzycki in that 6 car. Around that outside line. A lot of these guys back here didn't take times on qualifying, so they're just trying to kind of work their way through the field here. And then right there, Dade comes down the track. Almost kind of seems like the block. That's the 777 there. Newcomer here to the league, and there you see that right front is completely broken on that 6 car. Let's go back and see it from that 777's point of view. On board with the 777 here. It almost kind of seems like Dade came down the track, whether to block the 777 or not. It did result in a caution for sure, and now we didn't even make it one lap, and we've already gotten ourselves a caution here on the track. So it's not too many moves here. John Whitendorf was able to get the jump on Hank Steinmiller going through 1 and 2 and got the lead here. We saw that 14 of Cooper Johnson losing a couple of spots off the start as well. And that 17 of that old number 17 Matt Kenseth scheme, that is actually Andrew Rucker in the 20 car. Just the scheme is a little bit obviously off in numbers. There we see Drew Cox in that 98. There's Sean Hayes in that colorful scheme in P3 there. The Dude Man sponsor, McCody's Setup Shop on the side of the car. Lights are still on the pace car this time. Get a little bit more TV time for some guys back here. There's Jake Hounshill in the 02. That 26 car of Tyler Barnett's looking pretty good. As they get double filed up now, as we should go back green here this time by. Field is back in the hands of John Whitendorf. And we're going back green here at IRP. John gets a great start off the jump there. See Sean Hayes trying to peek to the inside of Hank Steinmiller. A little bit farther back, that 98 of Drew Cox. Got the outside of Andrew Rucker. Your contact with the wall. That's going to be something to keep an eye on as well. These ARCA cars are pretty fragile. So it'll be interesting to see, how long these guys can last. If they get in the wall, and there's the 63 getting in the wall up there in P2. Oh, man, he's going to lose so much time. Lost a spot to Rucker. Now lose another spot to Drew Cox. And there's, Jake Hounshill diving in there. Really forcing the issue, trying to get another spot as well. Now Tyler Barnett's stuck in that inside line. Hank should get a run here. And possibly try and pass him back. There's Rucker in that 20 car. Trying to peek for P3 on the 14 to Cooper Johnson. Drew Cox right behind him. Let's go a little bit farther back here in the field. There's the 99 of Logan Monteith. Seth Harlison. As Tyler Barnett was able to make it by Hank Steinmiller in that 63, he's now back to 8th. Oh, and there's Jason Hounshill. He barely clipped the wall there, but he'll still keep his spot on track. There's somebody to keep an eye on. There's that 86 of Brett Stevens. We've seen him make his way through the field on multiple occasions. There's another car in the wall behind him. It looks like the 3 of Josh Silva. He obviously keeps it straight. We were talking about the 86 of Brett Stevens. He's somebody who usually is very good at saving tires. We saw it at Las Vegas. We'll see if we can see it again here tonight, if he can kind of make his way through the field later on this run. John Whitendorf has already opened up about a second lead on Sean Hayes, who is now P2, as a caution comes out. And it looks like it is for David Carpenter, and that's 71. Let's go back and see what happened here. Let's go ahead and follow David Carpenter here into turn 3. Oh, and that just barely touched him in the back end there. It looked like Randy really got into the 3 a lot harder than David did. Didn't realize that David checked up a little bit more than he did and just barely got into the back end of him. So a quick caution here. For everybody. Looks like nobody towards the front yet is pit. And that's the big key that I failed to mention at the beginning of this race is track position. Track position in this race is going to be so important. Trying to stay at the front because you see how hard it is to pass people. That outside lane has such an advantage, not only kind of through that middle of the part of the corner, but the biggest advantage that it has is coming off the corner. And your ability to, in these cars especially, power down and get that run off the top and be able to stay in front of the guy trying to dive bomb you on the inside. Because if you try and dive bomb people on the inside, or better yet, you try running the bottom, it wears out your tires so much more than that top side is. Just because of the less banking that you have and the more tires you have to use to try and get by the driver in front of you. So a great run so far. John Whitendorf has led all the laps so far in this race. A couple other key drivers here. We saw Hank Steinmiller. He lost a bunch of spots here. He'll be starting on the outside this time. See if he'll be able to gain a couple spots back this time. Looks like guys are going double file, and we'll be going back green this time by. Already have some exits, unfortunately, in the race. Dade Krajewski, who we saw have contact earlier on in that first caution, he is out of the race. Looks like Andre Guerrera, not sure why, but he is currently 4 laps down, so we'll see if we can get an update on that later on. But John Whitendorf hits the gas, and we're back green here at IRP. A lot of action towards that middle part of the track. And Andrew Rucker, great run off the top on that 14 car. Looks like Drew Cox is going to try and do the same here. But look at Sean Hayes peeking to the inside of John Whitendorf. He's trying to get that lead from John in that 33. Looks like the 14 of Cooper Johnson found a spot. There's Drew Cox. He's on the outside wall. Oh, and that's going to cause more contact. Seth Harleson's backwards on the track, and we got a caution here yet again. The 07, and looks like an innocent bystander in this one, gets turned around facing the wrong way, and that's so devastating because now he's going to lose all that time on track, all those positions. Now he's going to have to try and make that all back up here again. Let's go back and see what happened here. So we know that Drew Cox got into that outside wall. Let's go ahead and follow along with Seth Harlson. Drew just got into the corner too deep. And that's the thing about these corners as well, especially with these cars, is you see what happens here, and then they just got squeezed there coming off of 2. Really not either Logan or Seth's fault in that situation. It's just things get tight coming off of the corner in that kind of situation when a driver in front of you is in the wall. It's extremely hard to try and get by them, but not too much that any of those guys could really do there. But that'll be the other main key in this race, is watching guys as they try and maneuver around this track, and they're so close to the wall that if you make even the littlest bit of a mistake and you get that wall, that it's not like you just hit the wall and you bounce off of it. And not even just in the corners. You can see in the corners here as we go through 1 and 2, they have the safer barrier in the corners. But even on the straightaways where there is no safer barrier, that wall, I don't know if it's something about these cars or if it's just the way that this track is. It's like you get in that wall and it just grabs you and it doesn't want to let go. And the other thing about these cars is if you jerk it too hard to try and get off the wall, you'll start to lose it. You'll start to get loose and it'll be extremely hard to try and save. So that's that fine line that everybody is running around this track, is you're running so close to the wall, and that's the fastest way around. But if you get too close to the wall and you barely hit it, that wall is going to grab you and it does not want to let go. We've seen it now from Drew Cox. He got in the wall and he lost a bunch of positions. That caused us last caution. And then we even saw Hank Steinmiller earlier on. He got the wall and he lost a ton of spots as well from P2. So that'll be the thing to keep an eye on here. Looks like Drew Cox may have possibly came down pit road and gotten himself some tires and fuel now. John Weitendorf has still led all the laps here at IRP. Sean Hayes currently sits P2. Andrew Rucker now sits P3, right ahead of Cooper Johnson in P4. They've kind of been swapping spots back and forth here on these last couple of restarts. But we'll see if that outside line for P4 gets an advantage. There's Jake Hounshaw in that 02. Tyler Barnett in the 26 there alongside Hank Steinmiller on the outside. There's Logan Monteith. It looks like he got off fairly okay from that last contact. Looked like he didn't have too much damage at all. He just kind of got squeezed trying to get by that 98. There's Jason Hounshaw, James Goshen. Some other names to keep an eye on here as we look to go back green here at IRP yet again. John hits the gas, and there you go. Great jump for John Weitendorf there. Everyone falls in line. Andrew actually keeps P3 this time as Johnson keeps V4. Jake Hounshaw really dove it in there on Hank and got it to stick for P5 now. It's more side-by-side racing here between the 99 and the 26. Ooh, more guys in the wall farther back. This may cause a traffic jam. That looks like Randy Koking's in the wall. Oh, and it will, and Seth's trying to get through it. He was caught up in that last wreck and lost all the time. That's the problem, being caught way in the back of the pack. 3 wide here. That 77 or 777 is in the wall. He's going to lose a bunch of spots as well. Oh, there's that 19. Randy in the wall again. He's still in the wall as everyone's trying to get by him. And now everyone's clear of him. Still no cautions, though, for all of that. Back up towards the front. Hank Steinmiller looking to the inside of the 02 of Jake Hounshaw, trying to get that spot back from him. Seems like everyone's starting to spread out here, so we'll see if we can get some green flag runs going. Now, what'll be interesting to see is both that 98 and that 07 of Drew Cox and Seth Harlson here. It'll be interesting to see if they can possibly try and make it their way through the field on these fresher tires. We're about 25 laps in. We haven't run, obviously, all 25 laps under green. But even these fresher tires, that'll be the thing to keep an eye on for later on in the race to see, do these fresher tires really have that much of an advantage? Oh, and then there's contact between the 523 and the 98. 523 is on the wall. More contact as guys try to avoid it. Not sure if there'll be a caution for that. And let's see, pace car is starting to roll, and yes, there will be. Just out of nowhere there. Whole lot of contact between Nick Seraph and the 523 and Drew Cox in the 98. Do see obviously some damage near the hood of the 523 on that right side. Let's go back and see exactly what happened here. So we know it was between the 523 of Nick Seraph and Drew Cox in the 98. And we did see that Drew was really coming here. We'll see. This is coming off of 4. Drew is on much fresher tires. Oh, and then the 523 just comes down a little bit there. Don't know if he knew that he was that close to him here. Going into 1. I must say that 98 car does look pretty snazzy. That paint scheme, though. Let's go on board, though, with this 523 coming off of 4. You see he's extremely loose coming off 4, running that bottom. And we had seen Nick Seraph kind of run that middle to lower line. Seemed like that was where he kind of felt safe, but that time the 98 got a run on his inside, and I don't believe he saw him there. But that'll bring out another caution here for us. John Weitendorf still our leader. Nick Seraph, excuse me, not Nick Seraph. Sean Hayes is still P2. Andrew Rucker still P3. Cooper Johnson still holding strong in P4. And we saw on the timing there, Hank Steinmiller was able to make the pass on Jake Hounshell in the 0-2. So now Hank Steinmiller sits P5. Still nobody to come down pit road. And at this point, you have to start thinking, are you going to be able to make it on fuel? Because we mentioned earlier on the broadcast that track position is such an important thing. And now you have to start as a driver thinking to yourself, well, can I stay out longer than some of these other guys and possibly get fresher tires later on? You know, there's different strategies to be played, especially with this kind of racing. The possibility of making it on fuel all the way is now starting to open up with all these cautions that we're having here early on the race. There's that 99 of Logan Monteith. And, you know, we talked about Logan the last couple of weeks coming up close so many times and yet still not able to win in the Juicebox Racing League. Maybe if he gets himself a hooked up car here at the end of this run, or towards the end of this race, I would say, we might be able to see him towards the front here yet again. Teammate of Sim Helper in that 26 car. As they're getting double filed here, it looks like they're going to go back green. No Anthony Guarneri here tonight in the 16 car, so owner of Sim Helper Racing will be sitting at home watching this one. Lights are on the pace car makes that hard left-hand turn yet again. I don't believe we'll be seeing the last of the pace car here tonight. Let's see how long we can stay green this time. Here is John Weitendorf yet again, leads them back to the green. At IRP, makes the jump, and we're back green here again. Oh, this time towards the front. Jake Hounshell gets that run. Oh, and Sean Hayes really tried hard to get by John, but John shut the door on him there. Sean really trying to force the issue. Rucker keeps his spot at P3. Johnson still P4. And do we have another caution here yet again? Looks like we do. Not sure what happened on this one. Looks like more contact with Nick Seraph in this 29 car possibly. Let's go back and take a look at what happened. So I believe this is off the initial start. It's the 29. Oh, he just gets in way too deep there. Into the 3. And then Nick Seraph was a innocent bystander in this one. He just happened to get wrapped up in it there at the end. Not too much contact there, but just enough to get somebody spun around and cause another caution here. So we are under caution here yet again at IRP. John Whitendorf, of course, is still our leader. Sean Hayes still P2. Rucker, Johnson. Jake Hounshill now gets P5 back from Hank Steinmiller off that restart. Tyler Barnett in the 26. We mentioned Logan in the 99. And look at Brett Stevens in that 88. We mentioned Brett earlier on in the broadcast saying, hey, keep an eye on that 86. He didn't make a time in qualifying, but he's definitely somebody to keep an eye on as far as making his way through the field. He's definitely very good at keeping his tires under him, saving tires for the end of the runs. And we've seen him show up in the end of runs multiple times. I mean, almost every single race that he's a part of, he's kind of one of those guys that just slowly and methodically makes his way through the field. He's doing that here yet again here tonight, getting past Jason Hounshill. There's Colton in that one car. You know, Colton, I know you're watching this, and I had talked to Colton after some of the broadcasts that have happened here tonight, and we kind of had a little bit of a chuckle about the fact that I just call him Colton in the one car. And truthfully, for anybody who's watching this, if you don't know what his last name is, here, let me show you what his last name is. Just so people know and understand exactly why I call him just Colton. Just give me a moment here. Let me get this up here. You see in the bottom right-hand corner there? That's Colton's last name. Now, anybody who's watching this on the broadcast, if you want to try and take a shot and say, hey, let me see if I can try and pronounce this, go ahead and take a shot. Because I have no earthly idea how to say it at all. The Z is, I think, the thing that throws me off all the time. It's always, whenever somebody has a last name with like a Z in it, it's like I don't know what I'm supposed to use to pronounce that. It always gets extremely confusing. I'm able to pronounce John Whitendorf pretty easily, but let's go back green here at IRP. John's got the field back under his control here again. John makes the jump here, and we're back green yet again at IRP. Oh, and Rucker gets turned around! No way! The 20 car of Andrew Rucker gets turned around on the start. And Rucker's going to lose all that time that he had running P3. How disappointing. We got to go back and see exactly what happened there. Rucker obviously not happy at all. Let's go back and see what happened. So we're going to follow along with Andrew Rucker here as we get ready to go to the start. John makes the jump there. Oh, Sean got a little bit loose. And then there's the bump that turned him around. It's all a giant chain reaction. So it looks like Sean Hayes got a little bit loose getting onto the gas on the start there. Knocked into Andrew Rucker. And then as Rucker was trying to get himself going as well, he kind of tried to come up a little bit on Hank, or not Hank, Jake Hounshill here. You'll see Andrew kind of comes back up the track. Jake's already well faster than he is. And then as he comes up, he just gets bumped and turned around. And as we've seen, you get bumped in the back end of these things, it's extremely easy to turn guys around. So let's get back to live here now. Caution is out here yet again at IRP. Andrew Rucker, as I mentioned, got turned around off the restart on the last one. So now this will be extremely interesting because we now have a new driver running P3 in this thing. John Whitendorf is still P1 and Sean Hayes still P2. But that 14 car of Cooper Johnson now is running P3. And so now instead of getting the luxury of starting on the outside row, he'll have to start on the inside row right behind John. So he'll have a little bit of advantage of starting right behind the leader here, but be interesting to see if he can get up in front of Hank. Now, Hank is the guy who qualified P2 early on the race, couple laps in, unfortunately got too hot through 3 and 4, got into the outside wall, and lost a ton of time. He followed back to about 8th or 9th spot, just by barely touching the wall and getting stuck in the wall. And Hank has done an amazing job of working his way through the field here yet again, and now has gotten himself up to P4. So let's see if Hank can make any more moves up towards the front here. He's definitely not out of this thing yet. He's got that advantage of the outside line, and so lights are out in the pace car now. Andrew Rucker ended up coming down pit road and getting 4 fresh tires and filling her up with fuel after getting turned around on this last restart. We'll see if we can get a clean restart this time out of the field. So pace car will make that hard left turn yet again. John Whitendorf, still the control car, has led all the laps so far as he goes ahead and makes the jump. And we're green here yet again in IRP. Clean restart this time. Hank Steinmiller with that outside line advantage gets the run on Cooper Johnson, the 14. He gets P3. Jake Hounshell looking to the inside of that 14 as well, looking for P4 from him, but not able to clear him this time. Logan Monteith in that 99 was able to get past his teammate in that 26. A look at Jason Hounshell back here with the 07 trying to make moves, and look at 2 guys who did not qualify for this race, slowly and methodically working the way through the field. Brett Stevens currently P8, and Colton in that 1 car currently P9. There's Seth Harlson, who we saw get turned around earlier on in one of the cautions. He's made his way back into the top 10. Right behind him, the other driver who came down pit road that same caution. 98 of Drew Cox. He's right behind him at P11 there. So maybe these fresher tires have got themselves an advantage once we start getting into a run. Ooh, Colton really on the bottom there trying to get by Brett. Little 4-car pack here as both Drew and Colton run in the bottom side. Oh, and Seth Harlson gets on the wall again. Just disappointing. He's going to lose the spot to Jason. Might lose a spot to James Goshen as well. Oh, look at this. Andrew Rucker, we saw. He got turned around the last restart. He's already trying to slice and dice his way through the field. Really diving in there hard in these corners. Just makes his way past Jose Medina. Back up here, that 98 of Drew Cox now in the P9. He's trying to find his way by Brett Stevens here, who is on older tires than he is. But that top side is such an advantage off the corners. It's extremely hard to pass. It's going to take multiple laps for him to try and get by. There's Andrew Rucker making his way past the 85 of James Goshen. Rucker on much newer tires. He's going to try and take as much of an advantage as he can, getting by everybody. There's Seth Harlson. Just a moment ago got in the wall yet again. Lost a bunch of spots. He makes his way past Jason, but really loose coming off of 4, it looked like, was Drew Cox. He lost spot to Colton there. A lot of back and forth racing here. Jason Hounshell now under fire from Andrew Rucker. Rucker's going to make the pass on Jason. Drew Cox in that 98. Who we saw. Oh, another driver in the wall. There's James Goshen. He's up and in the wall. And we saw Rucker just brush the wall there as well. Ooh, it seems like Drew Cox is pretty loose off the corners here. He tries to make his way past that 1 car yet again. Oh, Jake Hounshell barely clipping the wall there. Down the backstretch. Jake's having himself a great run. Currently sitting P5. Everything starts to get settled out. We're 5 laps into this race here so far. Oh, a Jake Houndshell into the wall again. That F2 up and into the wall yet again here. He keeps his spot ahead of Logan at the moment. Everybody's still kind of running their spots right now. Kind of go a little bit farther back here in the field. There's Josh Silva in the 3. Run that camouflage. Ooh, that 523. Really loose off the corner. He's going to lose a bunch of time here as well, but he keeps it straight. Back to that 3-car scheme. That 3-car scheme is really, really nice. I love that Budweiser camouflage scheme there. Very good looking scheme for tonight's race here at IRP. Here's some contact on the wall. Not sure where that was coming from, but still green right now. Oh, more contact. That was Logan. Barely clipped the wall, though. And look at Rucker. Man, he is driving the wheels off this thing, trying to make his way back up through the field. At the Walt scheme there. Trying his butt off to get by people. He's up and into Drew. Oh, man, he really forced the issue there. But you got to think, I mean, he, after that contact and the restart, obviously extremely upset for how hard he's driving. Oh, man. Diamond it to the bottom now of Colton. He's going to try and make another pass. Those fresher tires definitely playing a role. He's into Colton. A little bit of contact there. Now Seth Harlson trying to get that advantage on the outside to get that spot back from Rucker. Aggressive racing here right around P9. Oh, and Colton up into the wall. He's going to lose the spot to Rucker here if he can get the run off. Rucker doesn't quite clear him, but Rucker, I think, will dive it in here to try and clear him. Oh, but Colton does a great job of hanging on his outside. Rucker can't close the door. He wanted to there. You could tell he really wanted to close the door. But great job by Colton recovering there, staying in front of Rucker. There's 07 and 98 being extremely patient right now, waiting for these guys to try and work their differences out. Back up front, though, we have to acknowledge this 33 has pulled away from the field and then some. Hank Steinmiller, who is now able to get P2, and there's a caution out on the field. Sean Hayes, I believe, was involved. He was losing a bunch of spots there. Let's go back and see exactly what happened. So Sean Hayes was involved. We're following along with him here. He's currently running P2. You can see, man, he has really gotten that thing sideways going through the corners. Oh, and it's still sideways, still sideways. Nothing he could have done. I mean, when you're that sideways, it's impossible to keep straight and extremely, extremely hard to try and keep yourself still running straight. Let's go on board with Sean Hayes and see what he was dealing with throughout that entire time. So we're through 1 and 2. Coming off of 2 here. You can see he's got that thing cranked all the way to the right. I think he realizes a little bit too late that that thing is not being saved. So I don't believe Sean will lose too much time on track, but still pretty disappointing to lose all that time. So now caution is out on track, and this is the first time we're actually seeing some drivers pit. John Weidendorf will come down pit road. Jake Houndshell, Logan Monteith, Tyler Burnett, and this will bring everybody down. There's Brett Stevens, Colton in that one car. Seth Harrelson, Drew Cox, guys who are already pit, they're still choosing to come down pit road again. I think they understand fresher tires is a bit of an advantage compared to some other drivers. So this will bring everybody down, except for 3 drivers. So Hank Steinmiller in the 63, who we saw get into the wall earlier on in the race, did a great job of making his way back up through the field, is starting on the front row. He chose not to come down pit road this time and instead come out and lead some laps here. This also prompted the 14 to stay out as well. So all these guys are on older tires. And it'll be extremely interesting to see if these older tires can hold up. Now what's interesting though also is Andrew Rucker there. Seeing that DeWalt scheme number 20. He also stayed out this time, but he, under the last caution, came down and got fresher tires, filled her up with fuel, and should be able to make it to the end of the race. So it'll be interesting to see because now P4 is John Whitendorf. And as we have mentioned before, that outside lane is such an advantage that you want to start on the outside line unless you are the leader. If you're P3, P5, 7, 9, 11, you don't want to be starting in those spots on the restarts because you get trapped on that inside line and you're bound to either lose a spot or multiple spots being trapped on that inside line. But if you're on the outside line, the preferred line, you get such a great restart with these things. So P2, 4, 6, 8, all those guys have an advantage, but John Whitendorf starting P4, that's not what these other 3 drivers who are on older tires want to see. So the lights are on in the pace car. Hank Steinmiller. For the first time, we have a new leader. Number 63 of Hank Steinmiller has gotten some laps led under caution here, but he'll also have control over the start of the field. Great restart by Hank, and we're back green here again in IRP. John Whitendorf gets a run. Oh, Brett Stevens really lost some time, and Andrew or Drew Cox gets turned around. Caution is out. Sean Hayes is involved as well. Oh man, Sean's back end is really destroyed there. He might have to take a fast repair. His back end is hanging off. See some front end damage as well, I think. That dude, man, car is not happy right now. Let's go back and see what happened here. As we know, cautions breed cautions, but not obviously the sight that either one of these drivers wanted to see. So we're following along with Sean Hayes here. And the dude man number 49. You see, oh, that's just the chain reaction that what happened from Brett and their Jose just cleared out Sean Hayes in the back end. But that's not either one of those drivers' fault. Not Drew's fault, not Sean Hayes' fault. Both of those guys extremely talented drivers. And as we've seen, Sean running up front early on in the race. Let's follow along with Drew Cox here through 1 and 2. So we saw Brett. It looked like he got really loose trying to come off of 2. Drew checks up, but Sean doesn't see that in time. Just barely gets in the back end of that 98. Turns him around and brings out yet another caution. So caution is out here yet again in IRP. And under that restart, we saw John Whitendorf was able to make a move on by Andrew Rucker for P3. So this will kind of even out Rucker and Whitendorf a little bit, because Whitendorf had a huge advantage being on that outside line and also having fresher tires. But it'll be interesting to see if Rucker can kind of hang with John Whitendorf on this next restart, since he's on the outside now. And Hank Steinmiller still leads here in that 63. See if the pace lights will turn out this time by. A little bit farther back. P5, Logan Monteith, and that 99. We talked about him running P2 the last couple of weeks here in Juicebox Racing League. Still have yet to get his first win in Juicebox Racing League so far. In any of the seasons, he has yet to get a win, but he's been so close so many times. There's Jay Counshell. He's had himself a pretty good run here tonight. Colton in that one car alongside the 26 of Tyler Barnett and the 07 of Seth Harlson. And even though Brett Stevens got a little bit loose there, he's still hanging pretty. Right there ahead of Jason Houndshow. So the pace lights should turn out this time by. And they do. So that 63 will have the start here yet again alongside that 14 car. John Weitendorf with the freshest tires compared to the top four. A lot fresher tires, obviously, than the front two guys. And we should also know, I mean, we've had plenty of caution laps, but those front two guys have yet to even take tires at all this race. Hank Steinmiller will have him start on the front row. He will have control of the restart. And he takes off, and green flag is out here at IRP. And that 14 had a great restart this time. He hung with the 63. Can the 14, he's got the run on the top side. How about this by Cooper Johnson? Johnson to the lead possibly here through 3 and 4. And he does. The 14 is to the lead. We hear a lot of contact behind him. 29's up on the wall, but we stay green right now. And Hank Steinmiller losing a ton of time being stuck in that inside line. 14 timed that restart perfectly, and now he's got himself the lead, and see if he can try and space himself out as much as he can from the 33 of John Weitendorf and Andrew Rucker here in this 20. Both of those guys are on much fresher tires than he is, so he's got to try his absolute best to take advantage of the side-by-side racing behind him, but John might clear him now. We heard contact behind again, but we're still green at the moment. John Weitendorf clears Andrew Rucker, and we'll see how long it takes for John to try and work his way past this 14 car on fresher tires. What a restart by that 14. The 33 now looking to the inside. Can the 14 still hang with him coming off the top, or are those fresh tires going to clear him? He's still there right now, just at his quarter panel. But John dives it in there, and those fresher tires are going to take an advantage. As we saw Nick Seraph, unfortunately, on pit road. He's going to go multiple laps down now. But John Weitendorf back to the point here yet again. What'll be interesting to see, though, is how many spots that 14 loses on these older tires. And if it really does play that big of a role here, this many laps in the run. We're 71 laps in this race. We've had plenty of cautions, but we've also had some times where we've had decent amount of green flag runs as Rucker wanted to look to the inside. There's Nick Seraph coming off of pit road. Jake Houndshow, he now runs P4, and out of the two drivers who have had this pit strategy of staying out on older tires and trying to hang with these guys, one driver has made it work extremely well. One driver has not. That 14 car got a great jump off the restart. He still hangs P2 right now. Hank Steinmiller has fallen all the way back to P12, and he's on all older tires compared to all the guys in front of him and behind him. So I don't think this is the last time that we'll get a caution, but right now he's not sitting in a great spot. But this 14 is still holding off. Andrew Rucker ahead of him. There's Jay Counshell. Everyone's pretty evened out right now. Ooh, a lot of movement there. Sean Hayes back here with Drew Cox. We know, and Sean Hayes did not repair his damage. That back end is still hanging off of him. It's still bouncing around all over the place. Oh, some drivers ahead of him in the wall. Oh, a lot of guys in the wall. There's Dave Carpenter's in the wall pretty hard. He's going to lose a lot of time. And oh, Jason Houndshell's in the wall as well. So this will allow Hank Steinmiller to get some more spots back here. He's now back into the top 10. Still got a lot of spots to gain, trying to get back up towards the front. Look at Sean Hayes' back end. I mean, I don't think it's hurting him too much. Since we're at a short track, it's not really going to hurt him on speed or anything like that, but it's still. Drew Cox is probably laughing himself pretty hard here, watching that back end bounce all over the place. Ooh, James Goshen really got loose, and so did Jose. Jose Medina in that 24 car. That's 777 just hanging the wall. Oof. As the 523 of Nick Serif goes by. Back up front, that 14 is still holding strong in P2, right ahead of Andrew Rucker. 02 is kind of falling back a little bit of Rucker there. And look at Logan peeking to the inside of the 07. And we may have a caution here on track, and yes, we do. This may have involved the 29 car and the 777 car. Let's go back and see what happened here. So it did not involve the 777 car, but it did involve the 29. Coming off of 4. Ooh, just came up the track right into that 3 car of Josh Silva. Really disappointing there for the 29 of Tyler. But we are back under yellow here yet again at IRP. And now we can kind of reset here a little bit. Now, I'm interested to see who came down pit road. And yes, the 63 of Hank Steinmiller chose to come down pit road this time by. So the only driver now left on those staying out strategy is that 14 of Cooper Johnson, who currently sits P2 right now. Now, he won't be in the worst position. Jose also came down pit road, and Sean Hayes may finally be repairing his damage. But because of where that 14 is sitting, as Nick Serif gets his lap back, he probably isn't in the worst spot. Now, if he was sitting on the inside line, I'd say he's in a lot more trouble. And that's what happened to Hank Steinmiller on that last restart. Although he was the control car and was the leader, that 14 just timed that restart perfectly, was able to hang on the outside of the 63 and beat him coming off of 2 to get the lead, which unfortunately forced all the drivers who were right behind him to get a run on Hank and keep Hank on that inside line to where he fell all the way back to 12th. There's Seth Harrelson. I believe he was coming off pit road. I'm not sure. But because the 14 is starting on that outside row again, even if John gets a huge restart here, I mean, obviously those fresher tires on restarts also will be a pretty good advantage, where Rucker might be able to get a run on that 14 and try and clear him through 1 and 2. But it'll be interesting to watch here. If the 14 can get a good enough launch and hold strong on that outside line, maybe, just maybe, he might be able to keep that second place spot. And that's key for that 14 car right now. Whatever you do, stay in an even position, because as we know, cautions breed cautions. I still don't think we're done with the cautions yet here tonight. And this 14 needs to try and restart on the outside line every chance he gets to try and keep track position. So, pace car is off. John Whitendorf yet again has control of the field. John gets a pretty good restart here, and we're back green at IRP. This time John clears 14 of Cooper Johnson into 1. Rucker trying to get a run here, but not able to get to him. I hear more contact behind. There's Nick Seraph in the wall way far in the back. But Johnson keeps P2. There's Logan Monteith trying to get that run on the inside line. A couple of guys stuck on that inside line. A couple of sim helper cars there. Also some guys in the wall. That's Jason Houndshell in the wall. He's still in the wall. He's just going to ride it on through. I mean, in that situation, it's about as smart as you can get. Try and keep as much momentum as you can. Stay in the gas and try and power through it. Tyler Barnett will now squeeze up in front of Brett Stevens. It looks like Logan is still stuck in this bottom line here. Still trying to make it work, though. Back up front here, there's Rucker trying to make another run at the 14 at Cooper Johnson. Rucker might be able to stay with them. There's contact there. Just a little bit of contact, not too bad. Just enough to know that he's there. Rucker trying so hard, but that 14 is holding strong in that outside line. There's Brett Stevens. He unfortunately got up and into the wall back there. Rucker still trying. Whoa, man, he got loose off of 4 there. Able to save it and keep it straight, but man, he lost a ton of time. And oh, Jake Houndshell now on the wall. And there goes Colton around because of it. That's going to bring out another caution. Oh, 63. No contact, but still rolls in there at the end. Huge chain of reaction. Wreck happened there. Let's go on board with Colton here for this replay. See exactly what happened here. So this is going into 3 and 4. We saw Rucker kept trying that bottom side. This time he just kept sliding up the track, kept sliding. Really got loose off the corner there. Lost a lot of time. And then Jake just overdrove the corner there, you can see. And then the littlest of taps. It's always, that's how these wrecks seem to continue to happen. Then there's Hank right there at the end. Sliding in. Let's follow along with Seth Harlson here in his cockpit. And see what he saw. Because he was the one that barely tapped that back end of Colton in the one car. So this is through 3 and 4. Just follow along in that outside line. Ooh, Seth got pretty loose off the corner there too. There's Seth in the wall, Jake in the wall, check up. And then the list of taps. I mean, that's the problem with this car here at short tracks is you barely tap the back end of the driver in front of you. He's going around, and there's nothing he can do about it. Because if he tries to save it, he's going to end up overcorrecting and burying himself in the wall, which is obviously not something you want to do to yourself. So, chain reaction of a lot of calamity happening here at IRP with the Juicebox Racing League's race number 5 of the season. Now, at the end of this broadcast, we'll be able to finally take a look at the point standings and see how it shakes out. If you're not familiar with how Juicebox Racing League does their point standings, they take the top 8 drivers, as here comes Nick Seraph. 14 needs to get out of the way here. And the 14 is still in the way. And the 14 is still in the way. Okay. Anyways, so if you're not familiar with how the point standings work here in Juicebox Racing League, we run a top 8 drivers go into a chase format point system for the final 4 races of the 12 race season. The first 8 races are the regular season, if you will, to determine the top 8 drivers, who will then reset the points, not to where they're all in the same amount of points, but 5, I believe, just a 2-point gap between each driver from 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And they will all be racing for that coveted championship for the last 4 races of the season. John Whitendorf looking to go back-to-back here tonight, as he has been dominant tonight. We saw earlier on in one of the longer green flag runs, he got out to close to a 2.5, 3 second lead on just second place. I mean, he is hooked up tonight. Not anybody yet has been able to hang with him. But it isn't helping the rest of the field, as we're going to go back green here, that 14 car's still sitting in that second place spot on that outside line on older tires. He has yet to even take tires at all in this race so far. And he's still sitting P2. Holding off as many guys as he can, as we're back green here yet again in IRP. A great jump by John Whitendorf on this restart. Johnson will get the run on Rucker coming off of 2 and stay in P2. All behind, some contact between Seth Harrelson. Oh, big stack up there on that outside line. This will help some of the drivers on the inside line. There's Sean Hayes, who we saw contact earlier on. Oh, a lot more looseness out of both Tyler Barnett and Sean Hayes. Sean Hayes dives at this 3 wide. 2 sim helper cars and Sean Hayes. For a moment there, Sean is really loose off these corners. He is driving the hell out of this car. Chaos on these restarts for sure. Both drivers on that inside line extremely loose, trying to make up all that time. Oh, and Jake Hounshell on the wall. We hear more drivers in the wall behind him. Still side by side here. This is a very interesting battle. Look at Sean Hayes. He's trying to peek to the outside of Tyler Burnett between him and Drew Cox. As he's starting to lose time being stuck behind Tyler Burnett. Now Sean will find his spot in that outside line. Back up front, though. How about this? The 07 of Seth Harrelson we saw earlier on in the race. Oh, and Sean Hayes is stuck in that outside wall now. Oh, and then there's more contact. Brett Stevens into Jake Hounshell. Sean's going to try and get a run back out there. 3 wide, coming off of 4. Are they going to stick? They do. They all give each other space. Great job by all those guys to give each other space and make it through there. So much chaos back here. I can't even focus on the leaders. Everyone's all over the place. Everyone's trying to make up all these spots. There's Hank Steinmiller on fresher tires. Oh, we see the 29s in the wall. Colton back here in the 1 car. All these guys trying to make up all that time that they lost. Everyone's kind of single filed out and not gone so crazy anymore. But look at Seth Harrelson. I was just mentioning Seth Harrelson turned around, spun around, I believe, on that first caution that we had here tonight. Able to slowly and methodically make his way back up through the field here. Now sitting in P4. Now if there was a caution to come out as we hear contact. More contact. That's Tyler Barnett in the wall. He keeps it straight and we're still green. But Seth Harrelson, as I was saying, he's sitting in a pretty good spot. If we ever have a caution here pretty shortly, he's sitting P4 and he'd have that advantage at the outside line. But even look here. Already close to a 2.5 back from the leader is the 14 of Cooper Johnson. And the problem is, as you can see, Rucker is still trying to peek to the inside. And this has been happening for the last how many restarts now? Where Rucker is trying to peek to that inside line of the 14 and trying to get a run, but he can't clear him. He can't get a run on the 14 to try and get by him. Because the older tires, he's slower, but it's not like he's so much slower that he's really going to... It's easy to pass him on the inside. Possible battle here brewing here. I believe this is for 5th place. Logan Monteith and Drew Cox, 99 and the 98. There's Tyler Burnett. We were talking about Sean Hayes. He's been to the front, to the back, to the middle. He's currently sitting kind of towards the middle. He's sitting P7 right now. Look at this. That 14 has kind of started to at least create a little bit of distance between himself and Andrew Rucker, as Rucker keeps trying his ass off to try and get by that 14. But that inside line is such a disadvantage to the guys in the outside line that it's It's so difficult to try and pass. Now 2 seconds back is second place Cooper Johnson to John Whitendorf. And let me remind you, that 14 has yet to even hit pit road this entire race. We are 103 laps into this race, and that 14... Oh, and Rucker smacked the wall there. He smacked it pretty hard. That'll at least lose him some time. Seth Harlson now may try to take advantage of that and peek to the inside of Andrew Rucker, coming off of 4 here. But as I was saying, that 14 car has yet to even hit pit road at all this entire race. He's still on all those older tires, and he's still sitting P2, and he's still just hanging on. He's not obviously in contention to try and get up there and get past that 33, as he's now 2.5 seconds back from our leader. But he's hanging on just enough to keep P2. And that's the bed that he's made. He made the pit strategy call. Stay out when everybody else came in. And so far, he's hanging in there. Oh, and Rucker's in the wall. This is going to allow Seth Harlson to get by now. Rucker, man, that's a huge loss for him. Now dropping back. Drew Cox now peeking to the inside of him, as Logan has already cleared him. Still fighting for P5. Oh, and he's in the wall again. That time it wasn't too much in the wall where it really took a lot of time away from him. But now Sean Hayes is starting to come into the picture of this a little bit as he's starting to run these guys down. And how about Seth Harlson? P3 now. As Drew Cox was able to get by that 20 of Rucker. A little bit farther back there. How about that 71 of Dave Carpenter? I haven't talked too much about him. He was one of the cautions here earlier tonight, but still, he's having himself a great run. Right now sitting P10 as Colton looks to get by him for that spot, and he will clear him. Great pass by Colton. Hank Steinmiller sitting back there. He's P12. Even after taking those tires, he's still sitting way back there in P12. A lot of bad luck that happened his way here tonight with the pit strategy call, and then, oh, and Colton was in the wall there, but the pit strategy call, and then getting caught on an inside line on those older tires and losing so much time, dropping all the way back to 12th, then taking tires after the fact with these guys. Losing so much time. So I mentioned that 14 car was holding people up. Well, he's still holding people up. He's still holding that 07 up pretty hard, and that 07 continues to peek to the inside of him, trying to get by him. And I think Seth Harlson is starting to become a little bit impatient, because you see that ticker on that left side? They're now over 3.5 seconds back from our leader, John Whitendorf, creeping in on 4 seconds. And remember, this is a short track. 4 seconds on a short track is a lot of time. I mean, we see John Whitendorf, he's coming through 3 and 4 now. And look at this, John Whitendorf. And the caution comes out. Not sure what the caution was for. Sean Hayes was involved again. Oh, he's sideways. I'm not sure if the... Ooh. Then he hit the wall there again. He's in the wall again. I believe that may be out of frustration. So now all that time that John had on second place is now gone. Let's go see what happened to Sean Hayes. We're following along with Sean here. This is through 1 and 2, and he is really sideways. Gets up into the wall there just a little bit. And then he just got on the gas really hard. He's still sideways, trying to power it out of the corner. Got in the wall. Finally overcorrected a little bit there. And officially spun her around. That brings out our caution. So Sean Hayes has been holding on to that car a ton here tonight. That Dodge has been... He's been extremely loose from the green flag to start this race until now. He's still extremely loose. So interesting pit strategy call here John Whitendorf comes down pit road again. He's going to come down for tires and fuel. This also brings down Seth Harrelson, and a whole slew of guys come down as well. Drew Cox is down here. Andrew Rucker. Tyler Barnett. You see Dave Carpenter back there. Hank Steinmiller. Jake Hounshell. There's James Goshen and Brett Stevens. Jose Medina. Josh Silva. There's Sean Hayes, the guy who just brought out that last caution. But what's interesting about this, if we go look at the field, that 14 hasn't came down pit road. So if you haven't really been paying too much attention up to this point, as far as pit strategy goes, let me go ahead and show you this here. Give me a second here. So here are all the pit strategies for the top 10 as of this moment. You see John Whitendorf there had about a 58 lap run. Came down after another 54 lap run. He just pit now. You see Colton has pit multiple times. 56 lap run was his longest. He's currently on a 25 lap run. Seth Harrelson there about the same as John Whitendorf. His came down in both times that John did. Rucker had a pretty long run of 74, but the key here is the driver sitting P1 has ran 113, now 114 laps without pitting. Has not pit a single time this entire race. Now, I don't know if that is the winning strategy, but it is keeping him towards the front, and it is allowing him to not only be up towards the front, but lead laps as well. So this next restart is going to be extremely interesting. Johnson has the control here on this restart. Logan Monteith and Colton in the one car also stayed out this time. They are on a little bit older tires, not obviously as old as that 14, as we're green here yet again at IRP. Johnson clears Logan into one. Colton stuck in that bottom side. See if he can try and hang on to his positions. But John Whitendorf still that first car on newer tires. He's sitting right there now, what will be P3 here in a moment once he tries to work his way by Colton, who's stuck in that bottom side. Guys getting loose in that bottom as we've seen all night. John Whitendorf now peeks the inside of Logan this time. Oh, he kind of barely touched Logan. Oh, and Jake Hounshell hard into the wall. That's like another caution. He hit that wall a ton. That car is destroyed. Let's go back and see what happened here. Following along with Jake Hounshell. There's that 63 on the left side. It just started coming around on Jake. Oh, and see, that's the worst thing at a short track that can possibly happen when you start getting loose. Is you either overcorrect and you get turned the wrong way, or you get hit the wrong way by somebody on the inside. Just destroyed that front end of his car. Let's see now what Jake was looking at in his cockpit. See how that wheel was turned. You can see he's trying to peek to the inside of the 71. It just starts coming around. There's Hank, who was already peeking on the inside line. Jake just started coming down the track, got into the side of Hank Steinmiller, and just destroyed his day, unfortunately. And Jake was having a pretty good run earlier on in this race. So back to live. We got a couple of cars that are choosing to come down pit road. So the two cars that did not pit the last time by are choosing to come down this time by. The 99 of Logan Monteith and the 1 of Colton. Hank Steinmiller also chose to come down pit road yet again. I think he's hoping, he kind of missed his pit stall there, but I think he's hoping, because he was kind of mired back in 12th place, I think he's hoping that maybe a little bit fresher tires here will help him piece his way back up through the field here towards the end of this race. There's Logan Colton. There's Jake Hounshell. Jose Medina also came down this time. So this yet again begs the question, how long can this 14 stay up towards the front? And is this strategy going to pay off for him? That becomes the ultimate question. He has so far had the advantage of staying out and having restarts of either starting up front as the first car, control car, or he has either been on the outside row in P2 so far. So as the lights on the pace car turn out this time by, Cooper Johnson will be starting as the control car, number 1. P2 will be John Whitendorf in that 33. He is on the freshest tires out of the front runners here. 98 of Drew Cox is still right there in contention. He's on that inside row in P3. Seth Harrelson will have the advantage on this restart here in P4. And we were talking about Brett Stevens. How about that 86 there running P6 on that outside row of Andrew Rucker? The 14 of Cooper Johnson will start us off here. Green flag is back out here yet again at IRP. 122 laps into this thing, and that 14 car hasn't hit pit road one time this entire race, and somehow, someway, he's still at the front of this thing. John Whitendorf now getting the run on the top side, peeking to the inside of the 14. Not this time he'll be able to get him, but he, as we've seen, is much faster than this 14 car. Not only is on fresher tires as before. Oh, and there's Steinmiller way loose on that inside line. He's trying to make up time on fresher tires. Let's see how long this 14 can hang with John Whitendorf before he ultimately gets by him. John now peeking to the inside. Drew Cox is following on that outside. You see the almost a little bit of contact there, but not too much. Just like we saw earlier, just enough to touch you and let you know that I'm there. Drew Cox now looks to the inside. The 14 now falls back to third, and this is maybe where it starts. Seth Harrelson to the inside of the in that 07. He'll look to get past that 14 car. Oh, he won't quite. Now he clears him. Oh, and contact there again. Rucker and Johnson yet again. More contact between the two. They just cannot seem. Oh, and then the 14's on the wall. Rucker now gets by him. The 14 is now back to 5th. We'll see how long he can last on these newer tires. There's Tyler Barnett with a huge dive bomb there. Oh, they're 3 wide behind him. Sean Hayes wants by Brett Stevens here as he's peeking to the inside as well. Sean Hayes dives to the bottom. Sean Hayes has been aggressive on that bottom side all night long. Oh, and more contact ahead. Drew Cox is into the wall. Seth Harrelson now going to try and peek on him. Sean Hayes was by the 86 for a moment there, but now... Oh, and Brett Stevens is in the wall now. That'll slow him up a little bit, give Sean Hayes an opportunity to get by. The 26 of Tyler Barnett now peeking to the inside. Can't get there this time. Look at Dave Carpenter. He's coming into the picture here alongside Colton. All these guys, and see, this is the problem with this 14 staying on these older tires. Now you see the gap forming here yet again. Look at the gap between the Andrew Rucker and that 20 in 4th place and the 14 of Cooper Johnson holding all these other guys up behind him. Holding up Brett Stevens, holding up Sean Hayes, Tyler Barnett, Colton, Dave. All these guys behind him are being held up. And the problem is that the 86 can't get a run to the inside of the 14 because he's trapped on the outside by Sean Hayes. Up ahead, some more contact there. Sounded like Rucker may have gotten into the wall. Oh, and then they're spinning! Sean Hayes is around yet again. This will bring out another caution. Jason Houndshell's involved in this one. Oh, and Jason Houndshell just hit the wall for good measure there. But extremely disappointed. Sean Hayes has been aggressive all night. He's yet to lead a lap, but he was so close to leading laps earlier. Let's go back and see what happened with Sean Hayes. We saw him riding that bottom side for many, many laps, trying to get by both Brett Stevens and Cooper Johnson here, but just mainly holding his own with that outside line, guarding that main preferred line on him. And then yet again, it started to get loose. Gets into Brett. Brett gets up in the wall. This brings Jason Hounshaw along with them. Extremely disappointing. Let's go back and see from Jason Hounshaw's point of view what happened. Alongside the 00 of Jason Hounshaw. This is through 1 and 2. See Sean start to get loose. Gets up into Brett. Chain reaction. Oh, he gets bumped by the 1 there a little bit, which kind of shot him down the track. Let's go back and see what happened here with the contact of the 00 and the 1 car. There's the looseness. Ooh, Colton kind of got loose himself coming off the corner. It's just really bad timing for him and Jason there. But this yet again brings out another caution for us. As we see some more pit stops. Andrew Rucker. Not sure if he's the only one that chooses to come down this time, but he is coming down. So he's going to get himself some fresh tires and hope that that's going to be the winning strategy for him to try and make up as many spots as he can. I mean, he's going to need plenty of laps to try and make up all that time, but he is the only one who chose to come down pit road. So now, this is extremely interesting. John Whitendorf back up front, the leader here yet again at IRP. Drew Cox now sits P2. This is the highest he has been all night, I believe. Seth Harrelson is now P3. And yet again, the 14 car of Cooper Johnson has not came down pit road. Now, the one thing that I will say is, although he isn't on the front row, he's starting P4. And we've seen that that outside line, as I've said many times in this broadcast, has such an advantage, especially on restarts, to be able to get that spot to the guy on your inside. So if he has that outside line, he might just have enough to possibly hold off Brett Stevens and keep P4, which is obviously not what Brett Stevens wants. It's not what Tyler Barnett wants. It's not what Colton wants, or any of these other drivers back here on much fresher tires than he is. Take a look at all these guys, and here's Andrew Rucker. Another one of those guys just like Sean Hayes, from the back to the front, back to the front, back to the back, all over the place in the middle of the track, in the outside line, inside line. He's been all over the place here tonight. There's Hank Steinmiller, who we saw come down not this yellow flag, but the yellow flag beforehand, as well as the 1 and the 99 also. But they're getting double filed back up here. Let's see what, if anybody, has a fight for John Whitendorf here for this front spot. Pace car is off. John Whitendorf yet again will have control on this restart. Seth is right on him there. And John takes off, and we're green here yet again at IRP. John will clear Drew Cox easily. But look at that 14 car of Cooper Johnson trying to hold that outside line on Seth Harrelson. But Seth will come up and stop that there, and so now the 14 will stay in P3. Drew Cox sitting P2 right now. How about Tyler Barnett? He's having himself a pretty good run here tonight, as well as Brett Stevens. They're both P5 and P6. Ooh, James Goshen really all over the place back here. Keep an eye on that 20 car of Andrew Rucker in that DeWalt scheme. Just came down pit road this last time by. Let's see how many spots he's able to make up here. And this is the key battle right now. Can Brett Stevens try and get by this 14 car? He still has not came down pit road this entire race. But he has done a very good job in holding his own. Looks like the 99 may have gotten into the wall, or some other drivers. The 17 is flying, though. He's made it past Logan Monteith, now looking to make it past Dave Carpenter. Ooh, a little bit of looseness there from that 26. Oh, maybe a little bit of contact. Dave Carpenter's up into the wall. This will give Logan the spot and Hank Steinmiller if he can clear David off the corner. It looks like he will. And Rucker is on a mission. Now into the inside of Colton in the 1 car and the 26 of Tyler Barnett. These tires are really paying dividends for Andrew Rucker right now. We'll look at Colton. He's to the bottom side, trying to get side by side with Tyler Barnett as well. Ooh, a lot of looseness there, as we've seen all night long. And now there's another car around. 85 of James Goshen. This is going to bring out a caution. Looked like he got extremely loose off of 4. A lot of damage to that front end. We'll have to go back and see exactly what happened here. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did get loose coming off of 4 there, considering how much these guys are all over the place here today. Especially off the corners. Guys are getting so loose. We're following James Goshen here. This is through 3 and 4. He's kind of towards that middle line, bottom line. Looks like he got in the gas and then continued to get in the gas, and he was sideways. Didn't realize he was as sideways as he was, or just couldn't catch it. But Goshen should be fine, obviously, to continue. Not too much damage, and we're at a short track, so he should be okay for the rest of the race. Back up front, though, John Whitendorf still our leader. Drew Cox still P2. Seth Harrelson in P3, and it looks like Brett Stevens was finally able to get by that 14 car of Cooper Johnson for P4. So this, with Andrew Rucker right behind him there, is going to put that 14 car in a very, very interesting predicament here, because now the only thing that I think has really been keeping him up with these guys is the strategy of staying on that outside line, restarting in one of those even positions, 2nd, 4th, 6th. Being able to keep up with these guys that way and just guarding that outside line, but now he's restarting on that inside line. And speaking of starting on that inside line, we saw what happened with this car right here, the 63, earlier on in the race. The initial pit strategy call of both Hank Steinmiller and Cooper Johnson staying out when everybody else came down pit road. And on one of those restarts, Hank Steinmiller started on the inside line. Johnson was able to beat him to the corner there and able to get a run off the top. And that's what got the 14 the lead and caused the 63 to fall all the way back to 12th. So the fear may be, especially with him not even being the leader here, we might see that 14 car finally start to drop off if guys can get formed up on that outside line and the 14 gets stuck on that inside line. We're probably going to see him drop like a rock here. But what a night for John Whitendorf. I mean, the 33 car has been insanely fast all night long. It seems like no one has been able to keep up with him at all. And the only times we have seen guys lead is with off-strategy calls. We saw the 14 lead and the 63 lead, but outside of that, John Whitendorf has been up front all night long. I don't believe he has even left the top 4. I think the farthest back he has been is 4th place. So it's pretty easy to walk out of here with a clean car when you're not in traffic and staying out in front. So pace car will come off here yet again. And John Whitendorf yet again, for I don't even know how many times now, has control of the restart. And we're green here again at IRP. John got a pretty good jump here. Now Brett Stevens is clear of that 14 car. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on Brett. And that 86, he's peeking to the outside of Seth Harrelson now. See if he can get a run off the corner. He didn't clear Seth. Seth clears him. Seth keeps P3. Look at Andrew Rucker and those fresher tires. Easily gets by the 14. 14's able to get to the top side now. But Rucker. Oh, and Brett Stevens is in the wall. Brett is in the wall. He's still stuck in the wall. He's trying to get off it. He's clear now of the wall. This is going to back up everybody behind him. But Rucker to P4. Now looking for P3 on Seth Harrelson. Oh, and Tyler Burnett on that inside line. He's stuck on the inside. Sean Hayes is still in this thing. He's looking at the inside. Oh, he's going to try 3 wide. What a dive by Sean Hayes there. Crossover move. Tyler Burnett's going to try and cross him back over. Contact. More contact. Sean Hayes is sideways. Oh, my Lord. How does Sean save that? Oh, and now Jason's loose. Jason's, oh, and then he gets turned by Tyler Burnett, and there will be another caution with 12 to go. The 523 is involved as well. Tyler Burnett is involved. Chaos these last couple of laps. My Lord, let's go back and look at that. The chaos of those last how many laps need to be watched again. So we're following along with Jason Houndshow here. And we see Sean Hayes, that colorful car right on the inside of that 00 there. And we see Tyler Burnett up ahead and that 26. He's struggling on that inside line. He's getting extremely loose off the corners. We've seen that all night long from the guys who are stuck in the bottom. Trying to get the power down. You see, man, he's so loose there. And Sean Hayes sees an opportunity here. He doesn't even hesitate. He dives it all the way under Tyler Burnett onto the apron. Tyler Burnett crosses him back over. Tyler again gets loose on the bottom. There's more contact off the corner there. Sean just dives it in there. It was almost like he was about to lose it, but he was able to keep it straight. And then Jason got loose himself on the bottom, right in front of Tyler. And as we've seen so many times tonight, just the guys who get barely tapped in the back end get spun around. And even Tyler Burnett got spun around by the 523 of Nick Seraph there after the fact. So, whew, absolute chaos here at IRP. Absolute chaos is the best way to put it. So what feels like the 20th caution here at IRP here tonight. John Whitendorf is still our leader. And this is only helping John because I'm not sure if he'll be able to give John a run for his money by the end of this thing, but Andrew Rucker has been coming. I mean, he has been dicing his way through this field. No hesitation at all. He's been using that bottom line. Those fresher tires are paying dividends for him a ton. He's made up so much time in these newer tires. Now, the key thing here also with that 20 car of Andrew Rucker, the DeWalt car there, is he is on fresher tires, but he also has that advantage of the outside lane. And that outside lane right now, especially with these older tires now compared to the other drivers who have stayed out compared to Andrew, Andrew's going to have such an advantage here on this next restart. The only key for him will be if he can take advantage of that advantage and possibly try and make up spots here off this restart. So we've been talking a lot about John Whitendorf here tonight and how good of a run he's having. But how about Drew Cox in that 98? He's been in a lot of up and downs today as well as Seth Harrelson right behind him. But he has had himself a great race so far. He has been able to set himself up perfectly here for a possible shot at contending for the win. And with all these restarts, it's really not helping John because John seems to be able to get the jump. And if he can get a little bit of distance between himself and these other drivers, these guys won't have the opportunity to possibly dive bomb him on the last couple laps. And that'll be the real key here, is if the 98, the 07, Andrew Rucker, and that 20, if any of these guys can possibly be close enough to John towards the end of these laps here, either 2 to go or on the white flag, if they can possibly try and jump to that inside line and maybe, just maybe, have a shot to either get side by side or kind of push John up towards the wall, make him uncomfortable, or hell, put him into the wall. Willing to do anything for a win, these guys are. John Whitendorf, yet again, has the control in the restart here. He's off and running, and we're green here yet again in IRP. 7 laps to go. Rucker is there. Oh, he tried to peek on Seth. Seth gets out of shape, and there's more out of shape. Sean is destroyed. Another caution just came out. Big chunk by all these guys behind him. Oh, and Sean Hayes' car is destroyed. So the 29 is involved. We saw Tyler Burnett's involved. Oh, and then Sean trying to get the car going, but that right front is completely broken. See, that right front is just completely on the ground. Barely able to make it his way around the track there. It almost looks like the left rear tire isn't even on the ground. It's so out of shape. And let's see if Sean can make his way onto pit road. Oh, and then he didn't. And he just crushed himself on the barrels. And I don't think he's being able to go anywhere. So let's go back and see exactly what happened here. Let's go ahead and follow along with Sean Hayes. Going into 1 and 2. See, oh, and then he just gets, not sure if he got net code there, gets destroyed even more by Tyler Barnett. I mean, I don't think Sean could have been put in an even worse spot than he was there. Let's go back and take a closer look here at this contact possibly between the 99 of Logan Monteith and Sean Hayes here. So let's see if there is some net code. That's why they went around. Oh no, there's contact. There's actual contact there. Just seemed like the 99 kind of came up a bit. Not sure if Sean Hayes was farther off the wall than the 99 thought, or if Logan just came up the track, but we've seen that many times here tonight where just the slightest little bit of contact can really, really hurt you. Let's go back and take a look at the 26's cockpit view here of this one. So Tyler Burnett's on the very bottom side here. There's the contact. Oh, and Tyler's just trying so hard. As he blinks out there, blinks out again, but nowhere for Tyler Burnett to go in that one. So, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here at IRP for the Crossroads 150 for the Juicebox Racing League Season 2, race number 5. We have seen some calamity tonight. We've seen plenty, and I mean plenty, of cautions. Enough to fill the rest of the season, truthfully. But tonight has been dominated by one car, and that is that 33 car of John Whitendorf. By far has led the most laps out of anybody by about a mile. But it'll be interesting to see with, I believe, I'm not sure if it'll be our organic green-white checkered, or if it'll be our first attempt at a green-white checkered. But John Whitendorf has the opportunity here to finish out an amazing run he has had with pulling off the victory and finishing in first here tonight. But a couple of spoilers might be sitting in the wings here. We were talking about Drew Cox earlier on tonight. Has been all over the place, in the back, towards the front, in the middle. Spun out. Seth Harrelson, same thing. Back, front. Hasn't led any laps, though. Either one of those guys haven't led any laps yet. But, I mean, talk about one hell of a race for both those guys. Even Andrew Rucker there in P4. He's had himself one hell of a run. He's been spun around. Now he's on newer tires. He's on the freshest tires out of all these guys up here towards the front. So he's sitting real well. I believe only 16 cars are currently on the lead lap. Tyler Burnett is currently 3 laps down after that crash. Sean Hayes is now multiple laps down as well. So this will be one hell of a finish here for all these guys. John Weitendorf once again will lead us to the green flag for the restart here. Pace car is off. Will this be our final attempt and our final caution? We're going to find out here. Green flag is back out, and oh, Seth gets turned! Seth Harrelson gets turned! And that's going to bring out another caution. 523 is involved. The 14's involved. There's Jose Medina. Jason Houndshell's involved. But man, these guys were having such great runs. And Seth Harrelson, as I'm now being told, that was the final attempt for these drivers. And the race is official. Which means that John Weitendorf will come around to take the checkered flag. And he will win the Crossroads 150 at IRP. Drew Cox, as the fireworks go off in the background. Drew Cox finishes P2. Rutger P3. Brett Stevens, what a run for him. He finishes P4. Hank Steinmiller comes home P5. He was having a rough going there for most of the race after he lost all that track position. But he still comes home with a top 5 finish. We have to go back now and see what happened on that restart, where Seth got turned around right in front of Cooper Johnson there. So let's go ahead and follow along with Seth Harrelson on this restart. So we're going to go and wait for it. John takes off. Seth takes off, and then I think Seth missed a shift because it just seemed like he just all of a sudden really lost a ton of speed compared to everybody else. And he just gets turned around. Let's go back and go in the cockpit view for the 07 and listen to his car here. I mean, he was sitting in a pretty good spot there in P3. Possible chance for... Let's listen here. And he just is stuck in gear. First time the 07 has missed a shift here in this race and just got stuck in gear and could not get it out of gear. Man, what a disappointing finish for that 07 there. Let's follow along the 14 here of Cooper Johnson. I mean, he was doing a pretty good job hanging up towards the front, not taking any tires all race. I mean, there's nothing he can do. He gets, oh, and then he gets contact with the 1. He gets turned back up across the track, and that's when the real calamity started. Jose and the 24, Josh Silva and the 3. We saw the 523 was the one that T-boned the 14 there. Terrible, terrible situation. Let's ride her on. Let's ride along with Jose Medina here in the 24. The Tecate 24. Got to start. The calamity starts there. So he tries to go high and then barely gets hit and then gets rear-ended hard. I think that right front is officially broken. One more view. Let's go and take a look here from Jason Houndshow's point of view in the 00. So he's actually on the outside of Jose here. There's the restart, waiting for some guys to go. He sees the turn, tries to go down, and then just after the 523 got on the 14, Jason Houndshow finishes him off and rear ends him as well. And there's not really anywhere to go in that situation. So now, congratulations to John Whitendorf in that 33. Teammate for Bald Eagle Racing, that 86 of Brett Stevens, giving him a little bit of tap, congratulating him on the win. As everybody else has their celebratory wreck fest, 33 will burn it down here in IRP. Back-to-back official wins for the 33 car of John Whitendorf. A great string of runs for him. Dominated tonight for basically the entire race. And the key thing, if you have never watched Juicebox Racing League before, next week we will be going to Watkins Glen. If everybody wants to know who the main road course ringer is for this league and a guaranteed winner for next week, it's that guy right there doing burnouts. It's that 33 of John Whitendorf. He's still doing burnouts here. So as John Whitendorf continues to do burnouts here in IRP, let's see if we can go ahead and take a look at the finishing results for tonight's race here at IRP. Final results here for the Crossroads 150. John Whitendorf, as he finally blows his engine, comes home the winner. He led basically 95% of this race, dominated it for most of the race from start to finish. Drew Cox had himself, as I said earlier, a great run here. He comes home P2. Andrew Rucker, who took those tires there in that last time around, he ends up coming home P3. Brett Stevens, like we said earlier, he didn't take a time in qualifying, but he just slowly and methodically worked his way up through the field. He comes home with a top 5 finish. Hank Steinmiller, who we saw unfortunately get involved in a little bit of contact with the wall, he dropped a ton of spots, and also the pit strategy call, which got him caught back there around P12. He wasn't really able to make his way through the field after that, but he still is able to find himself in a P5. Colton in the 1 car comes home P6. Logan Monteith P7. Great run for him as well. Dave Carpenter comes home with a top 10. A great run for him. Very quiet all race long, but still very good finish for him. Josh Silva, not sure if this is his first top 10, but a top 10 for him here tonight. A great run for that 3 car for Josh Silva. Jason Houndshow in the 00, though, finishes out the top 10 in 10th. Cooper Johnson, who was having that weird strategy of staying out the entire race, he didn't even pit one time this entire race. Not for fuel, tires, fast repair, nothing. Never came down pit road for all 150 some laps of this race, but he still comes home P11 after being caught up in that contact with Seth Harrelson there on that final restart. Nick Serif comes home P12. Great finish for him in that 523. Seth Harrelson, though, he was running P3 on that last restart. Unfortunately, missed that shift. He ends up getting turned around, and he's the last car on the lead lap. Very disappointing for him. He lost 10 spots on that one mistake. He comes home P13. Rest of the field on back. James Goshen comes home P14. He's 2 laps down. Jose Medina, 2 laps down in P15. Sean Hayes, who we saw being one of those last couple of wrecks, he comes home 5 laps down in P16. Tyler Burnett, who was also involved in one of those last couple of wrecks, he's P17, 6 laps down. Tyler in the 29 comes home P18. He's 7 laps down. Rest of the order is as follows. Jake Houndshell, who was involved in another one of those wrecks, he ended up retiring from the race 42 laps down in P19. Oh, shit. Jake Houndshell comes home P19 in that 02 car. He unfortunately had to retire from the race in one of those wrecks there towards the end of the race. The 777s, 777 came home P20 in the 71 laps down. Randy Koking in the 19 came home P21. Andre Guerrera unfortunately came home P22, and Dave Grajewski retired pretty early from the race in P23. A great race all around here at IRP. Thank you to everybody who tuned in and watched. Hope you all enjoyed. Next week, we'll be back here for the Juicebox Racing League Series number 6. As I mentioned earlier, we'll be going to Watkins Glen, our first and only road course of the season. And as I said earlier, after John went back-to-back, and he's the road course ringer of the league, be expecting him to go a three-peat next week at Watkins Glen and do it in style. Thank you all again for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and we'll see you next week at Watkins Glen.